Welcome to a deep dive, one that's tailored just for you. It's a story that spans generations, full of love and war and secrets. And there's this mysterious organization, they call it the Syndicate. And get this, we're going to be uncovering this complex web of interconnected lives over 3 books. Each one is told from a different generation's perspective.
It's really fascinating, how the author uses this structure. It really layers the narrative. You're not just following the plot, but you're actually experiencing how choices and events have a ripple effect through the eyes of, the people impacted most by them.
Right, yeah. Okay, so let's start with the very foundation of this whole saga. Thomas and Emily, we meet them right on the edge of World War II, deeply in love, but facing this harsh reality of wartime separation.
The author doesn't shy away from those raw emotions of their farewell. You can almost feel it, that weight of unspoken fears, promises hanging in the air as Thomas gets ready to leave. It's a classic love story, but one that's about to be tested, in unimaginable ways.
Yeah, and while Thomas is away fighting, Emily finds purpose as a nurse.
Yeah.
She dedicates herself to caring for the children affected by the war. It really shows her compassion.
Yeah, and this focus on Emily's work with children is, it's crucial, not just for her character development, but because it sets the stage for the story's most devastating turn. While Thomas is at war, Emily gives birth to their son, James. But, and this is shocking, James is taken from her and sold to the Syndicate.
Wait, sold? What do you mean sold?
Well, the Syndicate, as we'll learn more about, is not just some shadowy organization. It's an actual network that, they profit from exploiting vulnerabilities. And during the chaos of war, children become tragically valuable.
Oh, wow.
Emily's left completely heartbroken. She struggles to cope with this unimaginable loss. And then Thomas returns home only to be met with this devastating news.
Gosh, it's hard to even fathom the depth of their despair, having their child ripped away like that.
It is, and yet their spirit isn't broken. They hold on to this shared determination to find their son no matter what it takes. And that becomes a driving force behind Thomas's actions, which ultimately leads him down a very dangerous path.
Oh.
Years later, driven by a tip about where James might be, Thomas embarks on a mission to rescue his son from the Syndicate.
This must be where things get really intense. What kind of dangers is he facing?
Well, remember, the Syndicate is shrouded in secrecy. They operate in the shadows. So Thomas is stepping into a world of unknown risks, and he has to grapple with these moral dilemmas as he's navigating this dangerous underworld. He's forced to make difficult choices, some that have unforeseen and tragic consequences.
Wow. This sounds like a pivotal point in Thomas's journey. Does he actually succeed in rescuing James?
The rescue attempt itself is shrouded in tragedy. Now, while the details are a bit sparse in the first book, we know that Thomas faces heartbreaking setbacks. And he ends up becoming entangled with this key figure, Mr. Blackwood.
Okay, so who is this Mr. Blackwood? What role does he play in all of this?
That's the million-dollar question. He's deeply connected to the Syndicate. And he's both a source of help and danger for Thomas. His motives are never fully clear, and his presence just lingers throughout the story, almost like, a puppet master pulling strings from the shadows.
So by the end of this first book, we're left with Thomas grappling with the aftermath of this mission, still entangled with the Syndicate through this mysterious Mr. Blackwood. It's a pretty heavy start to this saga, sets a pretty intense tone for what's to come.
Exactly. And as we delve into the second book, you'll see how the consequences of Thomas's choices, they reverberate through the next generation. It'll shape the lives of his son, James, and those connected to him.
Now we jump ahead to the second book, and we finally get to meet James as an adult. It's fascinating to see how the Syndicate's grip has actually shaped his life, even though he doesn't even know his true origins.
Right. It's like he's living in this distorted reality.
Yeah.
Crafted by the very organization that, stole him. And then there's this glimmer of hope that emerges. Emily orchestrates a meeting between James and Evelyn.
Wait, Emily. How is she even involved in all of this after all these years?
Well, remember that fierce determination we were talking about? She never gave up on finding her son. She's been working, behind the scenes, piecing together clues, and finally she finds a way to bring James and Evelyn together.
So who is Evelyn, then? What makes her so important to the story?
Evelyn, she represents a chance for James to connect with someone, outside the confines of the Syndicate. She brings warmth, compassion, and a sense of normalcy, something that he's been longing for. But she's also holding on to a secret. A dark past that connects back to those events at the hospital, those unsettling events we touched on in the first book.
Hold on, you're talking about that mysterious Dr. Waterford.
Yeah.
And the missing child. How does Evelyn fit into that?
The details are still unfolding at this point in the story, but it's pretty clear that Evelyn is tangled up in that web of intrigue. Her connection to those events just adds another layer of tension to her relationship with James. It's almost as if history is repeating itself, you know? Their love is overshadowed by secrets and danger.
And then, into this already complex dynamic comes their son, Mark. He seems to be the one who starts, peeling back the layers of family secrets. What is it that sets him on this path of discovery?
Mark is, well, he's portrayed as this curious and determined young man, almost like a natural-born detective. He just stumbles upon clues, little bits of information that don't quite add up. It's like he can sense there's more to his family's history than he's been told.
So he starts digging into the past.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing he doesn't do it alone, right?
You got it. He teams up with this young woman named Kelly, and their partnership is one of the highlights of this book. They balance each other out. Mark brings his, relentless curiosity and analytical mind. And Kelly adds street smarts, resourcefulness, and this, unwavering loyalty that makes her such a valuable ally.
Together they, embark on this journey to uncover the truth. It sounds like things must get pretty intense as they go deeper into the syndicate's web of secrets.
Their quest takes them down this rabbit hole. Hidden agendas, dangerous encounters, shocking revelations, and they face constant threats. But their determination never wavers. They're driven by this need to understand not just their family's past, but also the forces that have shaped their present.
And it sounds like eventually their pursuit of the truth leads to this powerful reunion, bringing Thomas, James, and Mark together. Imagine the emotions in that room. 3 generations connected by blood, but separated for so long by secrets and, the shadow of the syndicate.
It's a culmination of everything that's come before. There's a sense of closure, finally bridging this gap created by decades of pain and separation. But this reunion, it's not a fairy tale ending. It's more like a turning point, The syndicate's influence is still very much there, and the fight for a truly free future is far from over.
Yeah, it's really starting to feel like a generational battle against this insidious organization. They're up against something that has been operating in the shadows for so long, shaping lives, manipulating events, all to suit its own agenda.
And that's what makes this story so captivating. It's not just about uncovering the past. It's about confronting the lasting impact of these secrets and fighting for a future free from the syndicate's grip. But before we jump into the final book, let's just pause for a moment. What stands out to you so far in this multi-generational saga? What resonates with you the most?
I think what strikes me is the resilience of these characters. They faced such unimaginable pain and loss, yet they never give up on each other. Or the hope of finding, some semblance of peace and justice.
It's a real testament to that enduring power of family bonds, even when they're tested to their absolute limits. And as we move into the final book, you'll see how that strength is put to the ultimate test, as they face the final confrontation with the syndicate and uncover the true depths of its reach.
Okay, so here we are, diving into the final book. And wow, you can really feel the stakes rising. Now, it's not just about uncovering the past, but survival, protecting loved ones, and finally breaking free from the syndicate's control for good.
What I think is really striking here is how the author shifts the whole narrative. It goes from this quest for truth to a desperate fight for the future. The characters have to confront not just the skeletons in their closets, but this very real and present danger the syndicate poses to them and, to the world.
Right, yeah. And speaking of skeletons, we need to talk about the Elysian Gardens. That mysterious artifact Thomas was after in the first book. Turns out it's much more than some valuable painting.
Oh, absolutely. The Elysian Gardens represents this utopian ideal, a vision of a world without suffering, without conflict. But in the syndicate's hands, it becomes a tool, a way to manipulate and exploit the very people they claim to be saving.
So it's not just about greed or power. It's about twisting a noble ideal into something dark, something that serves their own agenda.
Exactly. And as the characters dig deeper into this mystery surrounding the artifact, they realize how far the syndicate's reach truly extends. It's not just some criminal organization. It's this force that has infiltrated everything, every level of society, pulling strings, influencing events, shaping destinies to fit their purpose.
It's like this chilling realization that they're up against something much bigger, something way more insidious than they ever could have imagined. And this fight, it takes a toll on them, doesn't it? It's not just a physical danger. There's the emotional and psychological impact, too.
For sure. They're constantly on edge, looking over their shoulders, not knowing who to trust. They're haunted by the trauma of the past. And then there's the guilt, the pain that Syndicate has inflicted on them, their families. But even amidst all of this darkness, there's this flicker of hope. It comes from James and Katie's children, a new generation. A generation that might just have the power to break free from this cycle of secrets and suffering.
I'm especially drawn to Katie's story. Her dreams of escaping that underground complex, where she's being held captive, it's like a symbol, a yearning for freedom, refusing to be defined by the darkness.
Her resilience is, well, it's inspiring. It speaks to how strong the human spirit is, rising above adversity, seeking light, even in the darkest of places.
And then there's Mark, still wrestling with everything he's learned. He has this encounter with a mysterious figure at school, leads to this, crazy car chase.
Yeah.
And the author leaves us on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Frustrating and brilliant at the same time.
Right.
Who is this figure? What do they want with Mark? It just leaves you wanting more.
And that cliffhanger, it's more than just a plot device. It reinforces this idea that the fight, it never really ends. Even as they try to rebuild their lives, find some peace, that shadow of the Syndicate is always there.
Right.
A reminder that their freedom is fragile.
So I guess we come to the end of this deep dive with mixed emotions. Relief that some truths have come out. Admiration for how strong and resilient these characters are. But also this unease, knowing that the battle with the Syndicate, it's not over.
That's the thing about this saga. It stays with you. It makes you think about family, about history, about the choices we make when facing impossible situations.
It really does. It reminds us that even when things seem their darkest, we can find a way to carry on, to have hope, to fight for a better future. Well, before we let you go and explore this story for yourself, we want to leave you with a question. What would you do if you found out that your family was entangled with an organization like the Syndicate? Would you fight for the truth, even if it meant risking everything?
Think about it. The sacrifices, the lines you'd cross, the legacy you'd leave behind. This story, it's more than just entertainment. It's a reflection of us. It's about the power of hope and love and resilience, even in a world where darkness can sometimes feel overwhelming.